Guys, everybody, did you hear the rumor? There's this rumor that we're gonna get a new Star Fox game? Crazy. Did you hear this? I'm just now hearing about this. Hold on, when did the rumor, when was this a thing? When was everyone talking about this? A couple weeks ago. Oh, I guess I must have missed that one. No, I'm sorry, because this is, I mean, you know, we love rumors. We love rumors here on Topic Arlo. This is one of the biggest, like, just explosions of Nintendo rumors to happen in quite a while, and I am rather late to it. Just been having a whole lot of stuff going on in my life and kept putting it off. But yeah, we're here. It's slightly late. But I'm here. We're going to talk about this. And it's actually funny because I actually did record a whole video and even had Kane edit it and everything like last week. Maybe even more, maybe like a lot closer to when these rumors rumored themselves into existence. And I talked about some of this stuff. But then immediately after we did that, a bunch of more stuff came out, and I spent like a good amount of the video being kind of skeptical of a lot of this. But then since then, like a whole bunch of people have corroborated a whole bunch of it. So we thought it would be cleaner and easier to just kind of scrap it and redo the whole thing. I will say that, like, I am still a little bit skeptical of all this. You know, like most of this comes from Nate the Hate, which, as always, is just like, all right, you know, just one guy saying that he heard a thing, making some guesses that seem maybe even a little bit obvious, but then it's corroborated by a whole bunch of other people, so it seems a lot more likely. There is still a part of me that's looking at all this, and it all just reads as a little bit too, like, wishful thinking. You know, like how before every Nintendo Direct we get, like, the fake printout list of, and it's always like just a little too perfect, a little too obvious, a little too wishful thinky. I'm still kind of getting that from this, and I'm not saying that means necessarily that I'm sure that it's all untrue, but I don't know. And it's also really strange that we have so much all at once. All of this just kind of at the same time. That's a little suspicious. I don't know if that means that some of these are true and some of these other ones are just kind of piggybacking, because as long as we assume that some are true, then we're going to start assuming that they're all true. So anytime anyone throws in any other rumors, then we're just going, oh, I guess it's a big leak. I guess all of Nintendo's, like, next year or so has just completely leaked that idea of, because I mean, they have had a problem with leaks in recent years, you know, throughout the Switch generation. There's lousy with leaks. So the idea of, like, that much getting leaked all at once, it's a little bit, I'm a little bit skeptical, but it's also plausible. It's, like, just plausible enough, you know? So I don't know. We've got a lot to talk about, so I'm just going to kind of move down the list of some of the main ones. The primary rumor making the rounds, or rather, that was making the rounds a couple weeks ago. It's probably done talking about it now. Star Fox. Getting a new Star Fox game for the Nintendo Switch 2 system. And here's where I can look at it both ways. On the skeptical side, it's like, all right, Star Fox is revealed to be in the Mario Galaxy movie, and, like, pretty much the next day. I think it was the next day. People are like, oh, I heard there's going to be a new Star Fox game. You know, because, like, he shows up in the movie, and the natural thought process is, oh, Nintendo is, like, kind of advertising Star Fox. This would be a really good time for him to have a new game. Like, it makes sense. So when someone is like, oh, I heard there's gonna be, like, it's just a little bit too obvious. You know what I mean? Especially because, like, Miyamoto has done interviews and he's talked about the process of putting Fox in the Mario movie. And it's really just more to do with the fact that this movie was about space. You know, like, they're not always gonna line up their games with their movies in that perfect tie-in kind of way. So that's on the skeptical side. But then on the less skeptical side, we are due for a new Star Fox. And in fact, I am kicking myself right now because I have been meaning to predict one. Have I? And I just forgot. I don't remember. I don't think so. I've been meaning to predict one in a yearly predictions video, and I keep not doing it. Like, yeah, Star Fox as a series has always been, oh, you know, troubled past and whatnot. Star Fox Zero on the Wii U was just an absolute disaster, humongous financial failure. So it's like, oh, are they ever going to make a Star Fox ever again? But it's like, yes, of course they are. Like, it's another one of Miyamoto's babies. Of course, we're going to get another Star Fox eventually. It's Nintendo's DNA, yada yada. So I thought, okay, they skipped a generation. We didn't get one on the Switch, so it makes perfect sense that they would give us one on the Switch too. Fancier graphics, all that stuff. So yeah, and the problem is now it's too late to predict it, because now if we don't end up getting it, but I predict it for next year, if it doesn't happen, then clearly I was just predicting it because of the rumors. If it does end up happening this year, then I'll be like, I was gonna predict it. And it'd be like, yeah, sure, Arlo, sure you were gonna, it's lose-lose. I have missed my chance. Anyway, oh well. The idea is that it's gonna launch this summer, meaning that Nintendo is going to just kind of reveal it out of the blue. Just kind of reveal it randomly, you know, drop it on social media or whatever. Which would be weird. You know, like, we've gone on endlessly about how weird it was that they didn't give us a major direct in February, which means we're probably not going to get one until June. But it's like, man, you had all this stuff to give us. If you had a brand new Star Fox 2, how is that not worth a direct? I don't even get it. But, I mean, it's not actually a big problem. More just weird and surprising and interesting. No, yeah, point is, though, like, it could just be revealed at any time and released this summer. It is plausible. Although, if they just randomly reveal it, not in a direct, and it comes out a couple months later, that almost makes me wonder if it's kind of a smaller title, kind of a budget title. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if maybe they're finally realizing that you can't make a game in the modern era that takes like 3 hours to beat and sell it for $70. You know what I mean? Like, just if they're gonna base it on like Star Fox 64, then like it's a very, very short, very tight, kind of arcadey experience, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that, like, I don't know, that does basically feel like a smaller budget title. So I wonder if this is going to be something of like a small. At the same time, I've said that about other games, and that it ended up not being true whatsoever. So I should probably not speculate about that too much. For now, I'll just leave it at that. That is the rumor. Plenty of time to talk about what we all want and don't want from a new Star Fox game later. Maybe I'll do a video on that. I don't know yet, but at this moment, that is the rumor. It's going to be a new Star Fox game this summer. The next major rumor is that this year we are also going to get an Ocarina of Time remake. And this is one where, like, the sniff test, I don't know, again, it's not impossible, but it just seems like one of those rumors to me. Okay, again, I'll split it up. On the skeptical side, they have already done a big re-release of Ocarina of Time. They did it on the 3DS. I know it was a while ago, but like, they still redid all the visual assets. They like reworked the game. They revisited the heck out of that game. And the funny thing about Nintendo is, like, you know, you can accuse them of being greedy and stuff and like nostalgia pandering and all that, but like, they are weirdly hesitant to remake and re-release games. Other companies, they do not hesitate. You know, look at Sony. Remake that game. How old is that game? Not very old. Whatever. Remake it again. Remake it 10 times. It doesn't really matter. Make a new version for every single system we ever put out. But like, Nintendo is like kind of weird about their remakes. You know, they're always going on about how they just prefer making new experiences. They do what's fun. And for them, usually it's more fun to do something new. So the fact that they already just like rolled up their sleeves and got back into Ocarina of Time and reworked it, I'm hesitant to believe that they want to do that. I know it was like 15 years ago, but I don't know. And because we already got that re-release, and because we're talking about a remake for Switch 2, I feel like that's going to have to be a much bigger remake. That's going to have to be like a ground up, at the very least, redoing all of the assets and making them all beautiful and modern, and potentially even just like reimagining the entire game, like rebuilding it from the ground up. And like, there just isn't much of a precedent for that. You know what I mean? Like, that is just not something that we have really seen from Nintendo. It's something I would love to see. I would absolutely love it if they would give us these like ground up reimaginings of all these like old classic games, a bunch of games that could, you know, Mario 64, that kind of thing, you know, early 3D era is perfect for that, but they just haven't really done it yet. And just the fact that there isn't a precedent doesn't mean that it's impossible. Just that, like, I kind of have to wait and like believe it when I see it, you know? It's true that like the younger people at the company are kind of growing up and making their own decisions, and we have seen a lot of like good, you know, modernizations and whatnot of Nintendo's philosophies over the last couple of years, yada yada. But I don't know. Ocarina of Time remake, it's very like pie in the sky wishy, you know, like Nintendo has already basically remade or re-released, revisited all of the 3D games. So now it's like, what's next? Ocarina of Time again. I don't know. I hope that it's true. I absolutely do hope that it's true, and I hope it's a real ground up, full-blown remake. Not going to get my hopes up. So yeah, it's a little bit too perfect, and that's why I'm a little bit skeptical. However, it is true that Nintendo, you know, they want to release Zelda games pretty regularly. There was a time when they were like, we're trying to release one every year between like mainline and DLC and remakes and that kind of stuff. So like we are due for a Zelda thing. We're not going to get a mainline one for a while. So like, yeah, we're due for a remake. I'd be more likely to believe in like a Zelda 2 remake or an Oracle remake or whatever. But I would certainly take an Ocarina of Time remake. It'd be neat. There's also a rumor that we'll get a special edition Switch 2 console for the Ocarina of Time remake. That's another very safe prediction, you know, that if they are going to give us this remake, then of course they're going to give us a special edition Switch 2 to go along with it. The next big rumor is about 3D Mario. And it's funny because the way that it's worded, pretty much across the board, I keep seeing it as we're not going to get a 3D Mario until 2027. Like kind of like wording it in this kind of weirdly negative way, as though we were expecting one this year. I mean, I know there are plenty of people who are like, maybe we will get one this year, and it's certainly possible. But say like we're not going to get one until 27. For me, I see it as a positive. We're gonna get a 3D Mario in 2027. You know, because yeah, I've gone on about it before how like the Odyssey team made DK Bonanza. So I just didn't know if that meant that like they just weren't working on a Mario that whole time. You know, it's that thing where it seems unlikely that Nintendo would go a very long time without giving us a mainline 3D Mario game. But it's also true that they really like to take their times. They don't usually split their teams up. You know, generally they like to really focus on something. And so if they've been working on DK Bonanza this whole time, then it could be a while before Mario. So the idea that we'll get one in 2027, I think it's just plausible enough because, we heard that it's very likely that they finished DK Bonanza probably a good amount of time before it launched. So if it launched mid 2025, but it was complete before 2025 even started, you know, let's just say maybe it was done at the end of 2024. If a 3D Mario comes holiday 2027, then in theory, that means that they could have wrapped up Bonanza, and then that is a 3-year period between that and the actual release at the end of 2027. And if they were strategic about it and they had like a section of the team doing like early preliminary work, or if they were working with a different studio to kind of get that rolling so that the work was like largely done, and then 3 years just like focusing hard on getting it all done, like I could see it. You know, I want to believe that Nintendo is intelligent enough to be like, it can't be 15 years between 3D Mario games. That would be just ridiculous. I want to believe that, so I hope that it is true. I certainly do. If right now we're all just kind of like waiting around, like waiting for like the really, really big must-have tentpole Switch 2 games to show up, then a 3D Mario would do the trick. I think that sounds mighty tasty. So that's another rumor, even if it's another, you know, again, to look at it skeptically, even if it's another like kind of safe, kind of vague, you know what I mean? Like, it's probably not coming this year, but like next year. I don't know. That's the whole thing about rumors, is it really is just so much of it is just people just trying to make intelligent guesses so that if it turns out true, then everybody looks at them and thinks that they're cool. It is. It just is. That's the process of like so much of this. I'm not like calling out any one person and saying that they are lying, but like so much of rumordom is generated and perpetuated by people who are just trying to guess right, so that they can gather some credibility. Whatever. Already went on about that enough in the video we deleted, so I'm not gonna again here. We're talking about the rumors. Rumors are good. Rumors are great. They make for content. Another rumor, we're going to get a new Switch sports game on the Switch 2. I am a little hesitant to believe that we would get one so soon after Mario Tennis. I mean, we just got Mario Tennis, so if they end up giving us a Switch sports game, the same year, like a few months later, that would be a little strange. At the same time, they gave us 3 different Mario RPGs in the span of 365 days, so weirder things have happened. Honestly, I kind of feel like a Switch Sports, like Switch 2 edition, with a couple of extra sports. I could see that happening. I don't know what they do with like a brand new collection of sports, but I don't know. I've never really been like super into the series or whatever, so I don't know. I'll just leave it right there. That is the rumor. We're going to get another Switch sports game for Switch 2. Another safe bet. another game that is inevitable and therefore always okay to guess, but whatever. Could be true. Could be true. Golly, there's a lot of rumors. Super Metroid remake for Switch 2. That is another one that is kind of perfect because it's kind of too obvious, so therefore it's an easy one to guess. But it also absolutely could be true. I really do think the next 2D Metroid is not that far off. And I don't know. I could see it being Metroid 6 or a Super Metroid remake, and I like the idea of a Super Metroid remake. If they announced it, I would be happy. I'd be bummed if that meant that they did not get started on Metroid 6, and now we have to wait that many more years before we get one, because I don't know. Dread did okay for Metroid. I feel like there's a fine chance they're working on Metroid 6, but if we get Super Metroid instead, then I don't know. And that would kind of make sense to follow, like, you know, kind of a remake original, kind of alternate. So yeah, it's perfectly plausible. I think I've predicted that one once, maybe even twice in yearly predictions videos. I don't know. So that, I mean, it would be cool. It would be neato. And then a new, okay, you know what? This one's solid. This one is not obvious. New Wario Land game for 2027. That one right there is actually going out on a limb because we have not gotten a new Wario Land game in like 100,000 years. We just keep getting WarioWare. So like we're all just kind of holding our breaths and waiting for when Nintendo like finally wants to continue the Wario Land thing. So that idea that it's coming in 2027. No, there you go. That's a genuine rumor right there. That, like, if that happens, if you guessed that, you get a lot of credit because that was not obvious. That's one where you can look at it and just be like, historically, like statistically, that is unlikely. I'm not saying it's unlikely that we'll ever, like, we just never ever get a Wario Land game ever again. I think it's inevitable, but like, when though? You know, like. Within this decade? I don't know. So that's a good one. That's a good rumor right there. That's mainly it for like brand new games and stuff. But then rumors also say that we're going to get a Xenoblade 2 Switch 2 edition in the coming months. I don't know how likely that is because we just got X, and if X Switch 2 edition had just been a digital thing, then I would be more inclined to believe that we could just get any number of like just really simple, cheap Switch 2 editions. But the fact that they made it a physical release and kind of like, I don't know, they kind of propped it up as a bigger deal makes it seem a little unlikely that they would do the same thing for Xenoblade 2 so soon. If we end up getting a brand new Xenoblade game sometime, I predicted that this year they would reveal Xenoblade 4 for next year. So, you know, we're almost due. So if that does happen, then it could be that they want to give us Switch 2 editions for these old games. I don't know. And then Pikmin 4 Switch 2 edition is also rumored to be coming in the coming months. That is one that I have been predicting an awful lot, both because I think that it is very plausible. That game never got any major DLC. I think it is one of the most perfect candidates for a Switch 2 edition. And then I also just super duper want it. I want it. I want it super duper bad. So, you know, I am happy to see it on this list because if these end up being true, then that is a thing that I will have. And that is the thing that I wish to have. So I like that one. That's also a good rumor right there. So yeah, that's most of it. Some other stuff here and there. I wouldn't even be surprised if there were other rumors that have rolled. Just like once the rumors get rolling, you know, then everybody's just throwing them in the pile. But it seems that those are the main ones. I'm very interested to see how many of these end up being true, you know, because if they end up not being true at all, then that'll be really funny, because I think like most people seem to be pretty darn convinced. So if this is all, it was all just a big rumor free-for-all, it was just people just throwing out wild guesses, that'll be interesting. If some of them end up being true, then that'll also be interesting, because we're going to be left, like, just guessing, just like second guessing everything, every rumor, and just be like, what even is real? I don't know. But then if they all end up being true, then wow, Nintendo's got a problem. They've already had a problem. Like, they have had so many major games just leaked, the existence of them. It leaked sometimes a year or two ahead of time. So many rumors have ended up being true. Sometimes very, very specific rumors have ended up being very accurate, where you're like, oh yeah, no, there's definitely a leaker. You know, like there's at least one person at Nintendo is letting these secrets out of the lab, out of the government facility they are kept in, the underground bunker. And if it's already been a problem, and Nintendo was like really not happy about it, obviously, like they like their secrets. They like their secrets an awful lot. They do not like it when we know things that they do not want us to know. So if it's already been a problem, but now if it's like the next, I mean, like this is basically the next year. Like, you know, like if this ends up being true, this is basically 2026 and the major stuff for 2027. Obviously, it's not going to be every single thing, but that would be most of it. And if Nintendo, I mean, obviously from our perspective, it would just be pretty darn disappointing. Like, we love the surprise. We want to be surprised when we sit down and watch a Nintendo Direct. So like, it would be a huge bummer if it was just like, oh, it's okay, just like the next like 2 years of Nintendo surprises are just not a thing. You don't get to enjoy Nintendo surprises for the next 2 years. That would already be a bummer, but it would also just mean that Nintendo has a really serious problem. Because I know like they are very, very aggressive about like shutting down leaks and stuff. So I don't know, this would just mean that they just have no idea where the leak is. They just have absolutely no idea. I don't know how people get away with this. I mean, I don't know. Whatever person or combination of peoples is doing this, I don't know how you can sleep at night. I don't know. How are you not worried that at any moment you're going to get found out and you're going to lose your awesome, like once in a lifetime job at the best company to work at on the stinking earth?